Also, Andre Ward, I was going to mention, after your last fight, you seem to give a strong hint that you would love a fight with Chavez, just because, he's a very marketable guy. If he can get past Vera, what are you going to be thinking about you and him in the future?
Well, I mean, it's an option, but not a lot of these guys have stepped up. Not a lot of these guys want to fight. And, it's amazing to me because, when I came up, when I was coming up as a young kid, the best fought the best.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Win, lose, or draw. We're going to fight the best. And if you say you're the man or if you're the lineal champion in the division, we want you. And not a lot of guys are knocking on our door. So I don't know if Chavez is going to step up. I think it'll be a big fight, not just because he's marketable, but because I'm marketable too. And I'm one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a good matchup, but he's got to get past Vera, and he can't just get past Vera. He has to look good.
Okay.
So, but that's an option. That's one option.
Okay. Now, Abel Sanchez's trainer, Gennady Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, always had a lot of confidence in his guy. I think I read an article where you said, looks like you don't think they'd want that fight with you.
I mean, I think, for the record, I think Golovkin is a humble guy. I think Golovkin he's a good fighter. I think he's a silver medalist, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think he's a silver medalist. He's making a name for himself, but it's the guys around him a lot of times that talk tough. They got a lot to say. And, my thing is if you got to go on a record and plead the case of your fighter and say that he's a star, and you got to, don't try to force feed us the fact that Golovkin's a star. If you got to go on the record and tell us he's a star, he's probably not there yet. And I think he deserves a lot of the hype he's getting, but they're trying to force feed us Golovkin as a star right now, and he's not there yet.
Okay.
So my only thing is this: I'm not the type of guy that's gonna try to bully other fighters and look for guys that are in lower weight classes, but they went on the record and they campaigned for years, and they've been campaigning for the last couple of years about we'll fight anybody from 54 to 75, anybody. So anybody means anybody. So I said, man, I don't have a problem fighting Golovkin. And now all of a sudden it's a campaign to stay at 160. So maybe you guys can explain that to me. To me, it looks like backpedaling, and it looks like a lot of grandstanding. And they want to make this excuse and this reason and that reason. Listen, man, boxing ain't that hard. If you want to fight a guy, you pick up the phone and you call the network. The network will contact that promoter. The promoter will contact that fighter. You negotiate, you make it happen. So I've always had the same position that I have right now. I don't have a problem fighting any fighter in the world. Okay. Any fighter.
Okay. So when you hear Abel, do you think maybe he's just saying that to kind of like in hopes of one day getting that fight? Maybe he's trying to hopefully build towards that big fight and that it could happen? I mean,
yeah, I mean, right now they're having their way, as a team. They're successful, they're stopping guys, they're doing this, doing that. And I take nothing away from the guys that Golovkin has fought. But he hasn't fought the best yet. No. I mean, that being said, I give him credit for what he's done, but the reality of the situation is he hasn't fought the best. And if the shoe was on the other foot and that was me, they'd say I haven't fought anybody.
Okay.
So you guys tell me. It seems simple to me. I think he's a really good fighter. I think some of the praise he gets is legit, but don't try to force feed us the fact that Golovkin's a star.
Okay.
And if you guys say you'll fight anybody from 154 to 75, stand on your word and keep that.
And last thing I was going to ask you about Golovkin, how do you assess him as a fighter? What strengths, weaknesses you see, and what would you bring to the table that he hasn't seen?
Well, I mean, I mean, he seems to be a good puncher. It's hard to say how hard a guy hits until he fights the best, and that's like something that I've always been taught coming up. Everybody looks like punchers on the way up, and they were calling me a puncher on the way up. I know when I moved from 160 to 168, I think I had like 5 stoppages in a row. Like, when you fight the best, the knockouts go down because everybody's good. I mean, the best at that level. There's not a lot of guys. Pacquiao went on a good run for a while, but outside of him, who can say in the last 10 or 15 years that we've had a knockout artist? You may be able to pick a Mike Tyson. You may be able to pick a guy here and there, but there's not a lot of guys like stopping guys at the A level. It's just not happening. So he's an eager fighter. He's a good fighter. He's got a strong amateur background. he hasn't had a reason. Nothing has happened to him in a professional boxing ring that would make him think that he's not what they say that he is. So I think if we ever fought, then you know he's gonna fight the best fighter he's ever fought in his life, amateur or pro. But I don't get into trashing fighters, man. I respect Golovkin. He's a good fighter, but don't try to force feed us some of the things that you're trying to force feed us. If it is what it is, then let it be that. But don't try to force feed it.